Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius, the official energy drink of PewterReport.com and the Pewter Report podcast. And let me be the first to wish you a happy Victory Monday. It is the first Victory Monday of the 2023 season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as they start the show 1-0. So everyone's got to be in a good mood with the Bucs being undefeated, starting the season with the win. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is the face that runs the place at PewterReport.com, SR, Scott Reynolds. And Scott, I think the saying for this season, what is it? It ain't pretty, but it's gritty.
Yeah, that's right. I love the hat too, Matt. Certainly
Thank you.
Remembering all of our heroes and fallen Americans on 9/11.
Yes.
It's a day that I'll never forget. And I know it's etched in the memories of so many Americans that were alive that day to remember the tragedy that happened in New York and Pennsylvania and DC. So awesome for you to commemorate that by wearing the FDNY Fire Department of New York hat. I love that. Yeah. And we love the fact it's a Victory Monday too. If we're talking Buccaneer football, first Victory Monday of the year. And it's always fun on Mondays, just because we do roll call at 4:20. And you people that catch the show live, you Pewter people, I mean, if there's going to be a day to tune in, if it's not going to be the post-game Pewter podcast after a Buccaneer victory, the second best day is Monday for roll call at 4:20, because we love hearing where our Pewter people are tuning in from, whether it's here in Florida, the great state of Florida, if it's across the country, or across the world. We've got international visitors too that will pop into the podcast chat. We love all the super chats we got over the weekend. Last night was fantastic. So just excited to get this show going. We had a chance to talk to Todd Bowles today. We'll have some of those clips and more insight after watching the game film from yesterday as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the past couple of days, I mean, it's so much better when football season is here. Like, we love the Pewter people, talking to them all season long, but the excitement it ramps up more when the season's here. So we've had great comments, whether it's a super chat or not a super chat. We've had great comments from everybody. Yes. And so, yeah, let's keep it going today. There are a number of different ways that we can kind of go with the narrative of the Bucs this season. As Narav says, Baker Mayfield dusted off the Heisman. Yeah. And I think it's something, because winning masks a lot of things. And I'm certainly not being negative on this show by any means. It's a Victory Monday, for God's sake.
Yeah.
But I also don't want people thinking that the Bucs were absolutely flawless in this game. Like, let's remember, they got a couple of big breaks with the fumble by Kirk Cousins early on, with his lineman bumping into him, and the Vikings going offsides on the field goal. So a lot of self-inflicted wounds by the Minnesota Vikings. Let's also remember, Baker showed grittiness because he wasn't a precision passer. You know, he had some missed throws. He had to fight to get those extra yards. He only had 173 passing yards. And that included a run game that was pretty bad for most of the afternoon.
In terms of efficiency, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. I will say this, Todd Bowles offered some perspective on the running game or lack thereof. And I know that was like the biggest, gripe that people had, is Dave Canales wanted to come in and commit to the run and revamp this rushing attack that only averaged 75 yards per game last year, Matt. And they ended up with 73. I think they had more than 75, but Baker had a couple of those kneel downs at the end in the victory formation, which is still the best formation in football. But it's certainly not the type of rushing attack that Bucs fans and even the team envisioned in week one. But at the same time, we'll get into that. There's some reasons why the Bucs running game was not as efficient and productive as it was. But Todd Bowles didn't seem to care, because it really served a purpose, which was keeping the Bucs defense off the field, getting them well rested so they could make the plays in the fourth quarter, like that Carlton Davis pass breakup, and forcing the Vikings to punt, going 3 and out on their last drive. So it may not have been pretty, but Matt, as we talked about, it was gritty. And that's how the Bucs are going to win some games. They're going to be gritty this year. It's not going to be as extravagant as it was, blowing out people 30 points per game under Tom Brady, when you had
Yeah.
Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown and Rob Gronkowski. They're going to find different ways to win. And this was kind of the formula that the Buccaneers are going to follow, although they want more sacks, they want more rushing yards, they want more points. But it's going to look a little bit more similar to this style of game with Dave Canales and Todd Bowles leading the way.
And that's absolutely fine because early on, the Bucs are establishing their own identity, which it can't be the identity of the Tom Brady team from a couple seasons ago. This is a new team with Baker Mayfield. And even though the offense may not have been wildly efficient, what was efficient is the overall in-game management. We talked about the adjustments a lot, but just the overall thought process of we're going to come out and we're going to, not that they tried to milk the clock, but they had a very, very long first drive to start that second half and put points on the board. So that immediately changed the game in its own sequence. And then at the end, staying aggressive, getting the ball with 4 minutes and holding onto that football the whole time, throwing it on 3rd and 10, going for that knockout blow. They could have easily, and Todd Bowles, I feel like, would have done this last season. They could have ran the ball with however much, I think it was like right after the 2-minute warning. They could have ran the ball there. The Vikings were out of timeouts, but they at least would have gotten the ball back one more time. And who knows, chaos could always ensue. But they said, no, I don't care if we leave a little more time on the clock. We're going to get this first down and close out the game. And that's exactly what they did with the big play to Chris Godwin making an exceptional catch. But we have a super chat to get to from Adam Hamilton. Thank you so much, Adam, for the 1999 super chat. Adam says, gents, happy Victory Monday. Don't want to be doom and gloom, guys. Rashad didn't look great. Seems like a good kid, but at some point, I think we need to invest in a real weapon back there. Thoughts? Y'all the goats. You the goat, Adam.
Appreciate that very much. That's a great way to start a Monday with a 1999 super chat. Some perspective. Looking back, I actually thought the offensive line did a pretty good job of run blocking. Brian Flores, remember, he was brought in to be the guy that's going to make this Minnesota Vikings porous run defense more stout. And you do that by run blitzes, by stacking the box and bringing one more than they can block, or making it even. And if they're blocking with 5, you bring 6 or 5. If they're blocking with 6, extra tight end, then you bring 6 or 7. And I think that was a pretty effective approach. They were clogging the run lanes. Remember, Tampa Bay's offensive line, that starting offensive line, only played 3 series together in the preseason finale. It is a work in progress. They needed more time in the preseason to gel. Now, Todd Bowles made a calculated gamble. He said, we're going to figure this out as the season goes on. We want to make sure that we don't have a Ryan Jensen situation where starters are getting hurt needlessly in meaningless preseason games. And okay, that's fine. And we saw it took a half for this offense to kind of come to life just about. But man, I think that the tight ends need to block a little bit better. And to Adam's point, Rachaad White needs to show a little bit more of a sense of urgency, and he's got to hit the gas pedal a little bit sooner on some of those runs. He needs to accelerate through the hole. I thought he danced a little bit too much, was a little bit too tentative, looking for the hole rather than sometimes if there's not a hole, you just got to plow into the back of an offensive lineman, use that 6 foot, 225-pound frame and create your hole, get positive yardage. That's going to come with time, Matt. You look back at last year, this guy had 5 games with double-digit carries or more. And that only one game he had more than 20 carries, and that was in Seattle. Mm-hmm. The other games we're talking like 11 carries, 12 carries, 14 carries. So he had 17 carries on Sunday. And he is still figuring out how to be an NFL runner himself.
Yeah.
And he's figuring out this new blocking scheme as well in front of him.
Absolutely. At first glance, it seemed like, oh my goodness, like the Vikings are in the backfield on every single play. And then you go back and watch, and Todd Bowles alluded to it as well. They just blitzed all the time, especially early on 1st and 2nd down. And a lot of times when you blitz like that, sometimes it works out for the offense where they blitz to the wrong side or you run it a certain way. And once you get past that initial first line, then you're off to the races. But that didn't necessarily happen for the Bucs run game yesterday. And for Rachaad White, it's one game. So let's pump. We want Rachaad White to not put his foot on the brakes. But I think for everyone worrying about the run game, pump the brakes a little bit. If you remember last season, granted, he was a rookie, just getting his feet wet in the NFL. He looked very tentative in that first game against the Dallas Cowboys in a situation where they were trying to churn out the clock and win the game. And Rashad looked a little tentative then. And then it worked out overall. So he's been known as a patient runner and can read the hole the right way. Patience is fine to a degree. We want that moved up a little bit more. And also, as you said, it seems like there were times that he missed the wrong hole. So if you're going to be patient, read it the right way. And that was the problem. If you're going to read it wrong, at least hit the hole right away, and then you could still make people miss and things of that nature. But I wouldn't freak out yet with Rachaad White. Yeah. There were so many growing pains for the Bucs in this first game, especially in the first half. There's a long, long way to go. And I actually feel pretty confident that the Bucs run game will improve as the season goes. And
I agree.
And let's also not forget that Sean Tucker is also a viable option number 2 if something does go wrong with Rashad or if he continues to play poorly, which again, I'm not expecting. But, you know, there is talent in that room at running back for the Bucs. So don't worry just yet. It's one game.
Yeah. The other thing too is we'll see what the future holds for Rachaad White. I don't think Keyshawn Vaughn's going to be back next year, right? That's pretty much a given. But yeah, running backs, you can find them in every draft class. And I've got no doubt that, you know, if Chase Edmonds doesn't pan out, they'll probably draft another running back. Then you've got Rachaad White, a 3rd round pick, you know, on the roster. You've got Sean Tucker. So you've got 2 guys, then you draft another back. So you've got another one. I'm not too concerned for the long haul. I think that with Rashad and Sean Tucker, that 1-2 punch, maybe some Chase Edmonds, can do enough damage this year to produce better results in the running game. And then we'll see what happens after that. At Adam Hamilton saying $4.99 super chat. All I'm saying is if you're going to be a run-centered offense, go get a stud. And I agree. But, you know, they're going to have to go with what they have this year, right? That's the draft is not until April next year. So they're stuck with what they have. And I think it's going to be enough. I really do.
We also have a super chat from Tim, or a super sticker. It's a $5 super sticker. Tim, if you have another comment, please feel free to throw it in the chat and we'll put it up. But thank you very much for the super chat, Tim. Let's stick with the offensive line, Scott. Yeah. Actually, let's real quick get to a video. This is Todd Bowles talking about what he thought of the Bucs run game.
I thought they were tough runs. Considering the fronts they were playing and kind of take away, and they kind of had an extra guy every time. The run doesn't always have to be pretty. You know, if you can get 33 runs in, it keeps the defense off the field some. It keeps them out there longer. It keeps them honest and keeps them off of Baker some. So it has a double fold. You know, the amount of carries are just as important as the yardage, if not more important. So if we can stay with that and kind of stay balanced, it kind of keeps everybody in the game.
And that's the big thing, too, is at least committing to the run. It might not be pretty every single time, but eventually that'll open up the play action. Yeah. That'll open up the rollouts with Baker Mayfield, which we didn't really see too much until, again, when it mattered most, Baker was rolling out, getting that first down. So you got to think of everything's in the moment without question. Everything's in the moment. But you also have to think of that long game. What Dave Canales told us on this show, body blow, body blow. Haymaker, Mike Evans touchdown. Those are the type of things that you got to see. So you got to keep that in mind. Well, 2-yard run, not great in the immediate moment. It's opening everything else for what this offense wants to do.
Yeah, it reminded me so much of what happened way back in the NFC Championship game back in 2002 when the Buccaneers finally beat the Eagles in Philly. That was the Rondé Barber game where he shut down the vet with that 92-yard pick six. But the Buccaneers had a hard time running up against the Eagles defense. And Mike Allstott had one of those games where it was very similar. And I'll pull up the numbers here in a minute, but it was probably somewhere in the neighborhood of like 20 carries for 39 yards. It was around a 2-yard average, right? 2.5 yards average, something like that. But it was enough to keep Donovan McNabb and the Eagles offense off the field and rest Monty Kiffin's defense. That is so important. If you remember in the first, 5 drives, Matt, that produced 1 first down?
Yeah.
Maybe it was the first 6. It was like 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out.
A lot of 3 and outs.
And all of a sudden, you see Justin Jefferson streaking down the field, and the Buccaneers defense was gassed, especially right before halftime. The defense had been on the field so much that they were getting gassed. They had to have some of those long sustained drives to really catch their breath more than just halftime. And it worked. And that's the complementary football that Todd Bowles is talking about. You can't get that when you're throwing the ball 60 times a game and having more 3-and-outs like we saw last year too many times, even under Tom Brady and Byron Leftwich. And it was that type of complementary style of play that Bowles needed. And he got yesterday, especially from that 2-minute drive on when the Buccaneers got that touchdown right before halftime, and then got the interception from Christian Izien, kept it a 10-10 tie, and then really played some ball control in the second half and kept that Bucs defense rested enough to make some plays when it counted against Kirk Cousins at the end.
And I think that Carlton Davis pass breakup on third down is one of the perfect examples of it. And it's so funny, Scott, because, every team, you want to win by a blowout. You want to win like how the Cowboys beat the Giants last night, 40-0, and it's not that close. But it's the NFL. That's not going to happen all the time. So under this umbrella, this was kind of like the games that Todd Bowles envisions of winning as a head coach. We're going to win with my defense. Our defense is going to set the tempo. Yeah. And the offense, while should be better as the season goes on, for the time being, they're going to win by not turning the ball over. They're going to win by controlling the clock, at least in the second half in this game, and make the big plays when needed at the end. So that's exactly how Todd Bowles drew it up for what he wants to do as a coach. Yeah. We got another super chat from Adam Hamilton. You're the man, Adam.
Yes.
This one, Adam says, thought the O-line played great, hard-nosed. Only thing is with these boots, talking about the bootlegs, it seemed like there was always someone in Baker's, parentheses, let him bake, let's go, in Baker's face. Is this by design?
Well, I'll say this. When you look at the blitzes that they were deployed against the Bucs offense, it really was a situation they were blitzing off the edge, right? So in most of those situations, you're relying on your back or your tight end to pick up the blitz. Now, one of those blitzes that got right in Baker's face, and that was the one where he literally ducked.
Yeah.
That was a blown assignment by Baker Mayfield. He needed to call for a line protection to slide the other way, or he needed to roll out away from that pressure. That was really on him. And sometimes even veteran quarterbacks make mistakes. It's still a new offense. He's still getting used to this offense, having not played in it, but just 5 series in the preseason. So the pressure that you saw really wasn't the fault of the offensive line, because Baker really was not tested up the middle. The one time he got sacked was on the 3rd and 5 down there, right after that Antoine Winfield fumble recovery. And it was more the fault of Baker Mayfield than Luke Gedeke. I know you look at the stat sheet and you say, well, Daniil Hunter got the sack, but that was a situation where Brian Flores pulled a Todd Bowles, showed a 6-man front with pressure, and then dropped 8, only rushed 3. Gedeke did his job on Daniil Hunter, wheeling him around, but the Vikings deployed 2 spies at the line of scrimmage, one to the left, one to the right. So when Baker Mayfield was in the pocket, he actually had 2 escape routes, Matt. One to the left, one to the right. He should have taken either one, probably the right one, because he had more room to operate on that side of the field because of where the ball was on the left hash or closer to the left hash. But for some reason, instead, he backed up into the sack. Even Cody Mauch came over. He had no one to block, right? But he actually got a chip on Hunter and pushed him behind Mayfield. So that sack that Luke Gedeke had was actually on Mayfield more than anything. So I thought the offensive line and pass protection did a fantastic job. And we have another super chat from Adam Hamilton, who's doing a hell of a job today as well. $9.99. I thought the O-line played great. Hard-nosed, only thing. Oh, you just put that. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. The only thing I was going to add to that really is, most of the time it wasn't by design at times, but sometimes with those play action bootlegs, there was one to the outside, to the left side. It was actually the first completed pass to Cade Otton, one of 2 Cade Otton's receptions. And that one, there was a free defender, but you can only block so many guys. So you kind of put that defender in the no man's land.
Right.
Do I stay back with the receiver, who was Otton in this case, or do I, go after the quarterback? But you have enough time, or the quarterback has enough time to get rid of the ball before he takes, a big hit, which, Baker does like to lower the shoulder here and there.
Yeah.
But he obviously made the right call on that one. And
well, hey, speaking of calls, I got to call a timeout, man. It's 4:20.
Yes.
It's time for roll call here on Monday.
That's right. Roll call, baby.
I got the wrong graphic.
We like Manscaped too. We got nothing against Manscaped.
Here we go.
Roll call, as you guys know, we do this at 4:20 or sometimes 4:21 if we're in the middle of something. But we do this every Monday with our fans, the Pewter people. One of us will go on a rant. I'm actually feeling about something today, Scott.
All right, man, you got it.
If I can have it. And what I'll do is I'll start talking about this certain topic with the Bucs. And in the meantime, you guys are already at it, but yeah, start putting in the comments where you are watching from, and Scott will put it up on the screen. So what I want to talk about with this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, and I think we saw it yesterday really shine a little bit more than we have in the past, is, there's been a lot of conversation about Todd Bowles. He's too stoic. He's going to lead this team nowhere. They're going to have a top 5 pick. And I think people have started to learn that there's two different sides of Todd Bowles. There's the guy that's on screen the whole time, and then there's Todd Bowles who was laughing his ass off in the press conference on Friday, or the Todd Bowles screaming in the locker room. So these players love Todd Bowles, especially the guys on defense. They really enjoy playing for him. But the biggest difference I saw from Todd Bowles from Sunday's game to last season, I love the aggressiveness and the no hesitation when coming up with a decision. We talked a little bit about it before with passing it on third down, trusting his team to get that first down instead of just running it and punting it and hope the defense can win the game. First of all, I love that the short yardage situation was an issue for the Bucs last season.
Yeah.
They would have had that third and short, but Rachaad White tripped. I know they said that he was down. Rachaad White straight up tripped. If he doesn't trip, they easily get that third down. But more important than that, I love that Todd Bowles went for it on fourth down, even though they were backed up in their own territory. Because in years past, I could see Todd punting that.
Yeah.
Or last season, I could see Todd punting that. So I love that they went for it. I love that they just went Baker, QB sneak, get it done, and they did. And even things of last season, just knowing your team a little bit more. I mean, I still go back to that San Francisco game when Ryan Suckup lined up for a 55-yarder.
Right.
And everyone and their mother knew there's no way Ryan
wasn't
Suckup's hitting this. And it wasn't even close. But this year, he knew, all right, we need to get longer with the field goals. I'm going to trust Chase McLaughlin to hit this 57-yarder. And he rewarded Todd Bowles by absolutely nailing it. It would have been good from 60 yards. So I'm seeing a lot more aggressive coaching style with Todd Bowles already, taking charge, calling that timeout when the Bucs were a little discombobulated on offense. I think of last season, the whole fiasco with the Cleveland game when they didn't call a timeout. Then they completed the big pass to Julio Jones. And then Todd Bowles kind of put his foot in his mouth after, being like, we were worried about turning it over, but Tom Brady doesn't turn the ball over that much. This season, no, we're being aggressive. We're going for it on fourth down. We're going to close out the game. We're going to win the game on our terms by winning that rep and getting that first down on the big play to Chris Godwin. So I really appreciate the aggressiveness from Todd Bowles. And it's tactical too. It's not wild, willy-nilly all over the place.
Right.
Like, there's a reason behind it all. And I thought Todd Bowles did a great job in his in-game management. Maybe not so much with the timeouts, but turning over a new leaf. And I think people are enjoying it.
He still has to learn when to challenge plays where he's actually going to win. I think if he has a weakness, it's that. But Todd rolled the dice yesterday, stole a win, great coaching, and Malcolm Hawthorne here. Todd Bowles looks like a completely different person than coach this year. You know what? He does. And here's a little bit of inside poker. Meets McGee. We're going to get to the super chat in a quick second here, but it's important to kind of drive this point home here. There is a different side of Todd Bowles that y'all don't get to see. And sometimes he reveals it, like Friday's press conference where he was laughing his ass off over the whole skull chant thing. The Minnesota Vikings skull chant, the clap they do and all that, which is really cool. It's a great environment, right? It's awesome. But I've had the chance to interview Todd Bowles in his office one-on-one. He is completely different in that type of setting than he is in front of the media in a press conference, where he's very much more reserved. Matt, you asked him today, and you and I both knew the answer. Todd, you had a busted coverage on, what happened on that Jordan Addison play, right? Where he looked like there was a busted coverage. Yep, busted coverage. That was it.
Yep,
that's all you're going to get from him.
No
that's
expansion.
it. But it's different. And Rick Stroud had a great article with Todd Bowles, a great interview right before game day, a couple days ago, I guess, where he really talked about the dysfunction last year, the play calling with Byron Leftwich, why he made a change, why he felt handcuffed. And he didn't feel handcuffed this year. This is his team. He did not, he inherited Bruce Arians' team with the coaching staff intact. And I'll tell you right now, he did not see eye to eye with Byron Leftwich for a long time. This is not something that just materialized last season. No. I think if Todd could have had the opportunity to make a change during the offseason, he would have done it last year. Now, it's kind of crazy because you think, well, why would you get rid of a Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator? Well, because he knew what was coming. He saw what was coming last year without Antonio Brown and without Rob Gronkowski. He knows as a defensive coordinator, you can take two guys away, right? You can erase Mike Evans with double coverage, and we've seen Mike Evans be erased before in certain games. And you can roll coverage towards Chris Godwin. But when you have the greatest quarterback of all time in terms of making pre-snap reads, knowing where to go with the ball before the snap has even occurred, where the mismatch is, and you got four guys, AB, Gronkowski, Mike Evans, all Hall of Fame caliber numbers, and Chris Godwin, who's a $20 million Pro Bowl receiver.
Yeah, very good receiver.
You can't take all four away. You can't. And the Buccaneers literally out-talented people with the Bruce Arians scheme in 2020 and 2021. That's why they won the Super Bowl and why they won 13 games. But with AB gone and Gronkowski gone, and you've heard even Dave Canales allude to this, you can't make your players win mano a mano every single down. You have to use scheme to get them open. To do otherwise is foolish. Folks, there's a reason why Byron Leftwich is not employed right now. I'm just telling you. So
I believe Dave Canales called it that's bad football or that's stupid football. It was something like that when he said if you make your guys go one-on-one. Another bad decision that you could make. Beats McGee, $5 super chat.
This is a good decision.
Like yourself, Scott, I made a nice piece of change on my bookie.
Yeah.
I didn't see them losing that game.
Yeah.
You know what's a big difference? I was actually thinking about this. Didn't have to do with anything on the field. But Luke Combs, he's famous country singer. He's been doing his tour. He went to Minnesota. He wore a Vikings hat. He went to Tampa. He wore a Bucs hat.
Yeah.
But in one of those concerts, he brought someone on stage to shotgun the beer. And it was not a Vikings player. It was a Bucs player.
That's right.
We should have known since then. Callie Bucks with the $1.99 super chat. I have to know if you asked the skull question, LOL. No, I did not ask the skull question. If you want to check out the whole video, actually, you could see it on our Instagram. We have the video there, so check out our Instagram. But another thing you should really check out is the best energy drink around town. That is Celsius Energy Drinks, the official sponsor of the Pewter Report podcast. So many awesome different flavors that Celsius has. Their newest one is the Cosmic Vibe. It's a sparkling fruit punch, but you can't go wrong with any flavors. I got the sparkling cucumber lime, the grape, the Arctic Vibe is my personal favorite. If you need to know where to find a Celsius energy drink, and of course, it's also the sponsor of the Pewter Game Day show and has Game Day Essential Energy. Go to the store locator on the Celsius website. Just put in your address, and it'll tell you the closest location where you can find one at your local Walmart, Target, 7-Eleven, convenience store, health and fitness store, or your bodega.
Bodega.
And once you go to your bodega and you love Celsius and you know you want more, get it in bulk, go to Amazon, click on the subscribe and save, and get that variety pack because variety is the spice of life. You can have so many different flavors of Celsius. You can have it sent to your residence really whenever you want, every week, month, quarterly, yearly. You set it up on your own terms. There's no sugar in these drinks, no post-energy drink crash or jitters that you might get with another product out there. So make Celsius your number one pick. Celsius, the official sponsor of the Pewter Report podcast. I want to get to a video. We were talking about the offensive line. We heard Todd talk about the run game from the offensive line, but he also talked about the pass protection as well, which we talked about earlier, did a great job between only allowing one sack, which wasn't even on them, and not too many holding penalties. So this video, Todd talks about the pass protection. He also talks about the decision of being aggressive and going for it with that completion to Chris Godwin, throwing it, and talks a little bit about Baker Mayfield as well.
aggressive and get that knockout?
Yeah, if you want to beat a team like that at their place going up the first game of the year, you can't play conservative. We wanted to go for the win. We knew that going in. Dave made a great call. Chris is very reliable. He made a great catch. And Baker was playing a good ball game in the second half.
Switch. I mean, I think Baker had 11 yards on his first 12 passes or vice versa. And then 18 of 23 from that point on. What, without giving away too much, what do you think flipped the switch for him and for the offense as a whole?
I don't think it was a switch flip. You know, they did some things coming in. First game of the year, new coordinator, everything. You don't see everything. They had some new wrinkles that really gave us problems in the first half. I thought they did a good job for us. It was a good DC. Second half, we made some adjustments. We came out, stuck with the run a little bit. Baker made some plays. We got on the groove, finding some things that we liked against what they did, and we kind of got on the roll.
Your thoughts on their play in terms of their pass protection?
I thought they played tough. I thought they did a heck of a job considering all the looks they got. They were sending a lot of pressure all the time. They were almost blitzing every other play, if not every play almost. At least it looked that way. And I thought those guys stood in there. Obviously, technique can get a little better from the first game, but I thought they stood in there tough.
Yeah, that was one of the things going back to training camp that I was worried about was the blitz pickup from the Bucs offensive line. Because we know Todd Bowles sends a number of different blitzes,
Yes.
and they were going to see it in training camp. But with Tristan moving to the left side, Malk being a rookie, and Gedeke obviously going to right tackle, definitely a concern of mine. But they passed that first test. Not a ton. It wasn't an A. Well, I mean, I guess if you only allow one sack, it's got to be up there. But
I listen, for a new offense, a new quarterback, and a new offensive line, right? The only guy that's a constant at any position is Robert Hainsey, right?
And he wasn't even supposed to be the starter.
Correct, yeah. And you had two penalties: a penalty on Hainsey for holding that got declined, a penalty on Gedeke for holding got declined. Baker only got hit twice in that whole game, and so that's a huge win. You have Daniil Hunter, granted didn't have Marcus Davenport, but Brian Flores blitzed like crazy, So, yeah, I thought it was a damn good showing for this Buccaneer offensive line from a pass protection standpoint to start the season. With given the fact that there was so much newness, they only played together with Baker for 3 series in the preseason. One of those was a 3-and-out. So, yeah, I was very pleased with that, especially with the crowd noise there, right? That's a loud environment to play in. So we appreciate Q's here with the $2 sticker and a comment here. Tuck will be your starting running back by the 7th game. And, of course, he means Sean Tucker, Syracuse, number 44. Seen him for 2 years straight. He is lightning fast. Q's out. Yeah, well, listen, Rachaad White is going to be the starter. However, everybody saw the game. Everybody has seen what Sean Tucker has in terms of speed and explosiveness. And there was one run in the first half. I want to say it was in the first quarter, I believe, where there was actually a nice hole for Rachaad White, and they had it blocked up pretty good. And if he would have stepped out of a tackle, he could have had a huge gain, like 20-plus yard gain, maybe even longer. But he didn't. And I love Rachaad as a person. I think he's a very good back. But I just don't know if he has the explosiveness and the sense of urgency that you need to really accelerate through holes, because they close so quickly. NFL players take the right angles. They don't miss many tackles. This is not like college. And if you look at Isaiah Pacheco for Kansas City, that guy is not the best running back in the league, but he runs every run like it's his last, like he is going to be cut after that run, right? And he has that sense of urgency. And I've talked with some people inside the organization, and they're going to make a concerted effort this week to have Rachaad White run with more sense of urgency, a greater sense of urgency. And I think he will. Rachaad he's a people pleaser. He wants to do well. He's one of those guys you root for because he lives the right way. He says the right things. He wants to do well. And I think we're going to see a better version of Rachaad White as the season goes on.
I also think there's always overreaction on Mondays, and that goes, I think, double when it's the first game of the season and you don't have too much. You don't have as much of a, pipeline to look at and go through. So, I'm really not concerned about Rachaad White. It just wasn't the best start going out. The only thing I did have an issue with, and I had an issue with this last year when Leonard Fournette was getting way too many snaps compared to Rachaad White.
Yes.
Now they've kind of done it with Rachaad White. I mean, Rachaad had 54 snaps yesterday.
Yeah.
Sean Tucker only had 10, and Chase Edmonds had 8. And obviously, Rachaad White had 17 rushing attempts compared to just 5 for Sean Tucker.
Yeah.
I would like to see Tucker. There was one drive in the second half where Tucker was like the main feature back, and they let Rachaad White have a break on that one. I would like to see a little bit more of Sean Tucker have that balance out a little bit more. It obviously doesn't have to be 50-50, but 54-10 or 54 to whatever it was for Sean Tucker. 54-10, I feel like is too much of a disparagement.
Yep. And I think we're going to see more of Sean Tucker as the season goes on. It's a 17-game season, and Rachaad White had a heavy workload. Keep in mind, folks, sometimes when you're a rookie, fumbles happen, right?
Yes.
You have to be adept at if you're going to be in there. As I had John Gruden tell me, you can be the best running back in college football, man. Can you pass protect? Can you help out my quarterback on third down, man? And sometimes it's not on third down, because if you have a running back, and we saw this with Ronald Jones, Matt, and Pewter people, you remember Ronald Jones. He couldn't pass protect. And so when he was in the game, all of a sudden you would see guys creep up and get into a run blitz formation because they knew it was going to be a run. And then what did the quarterback do? Well, he went ahead and checked to a pass. Now you got the defense exactly where they want to be, which is, oh, good. Now we have all of our guys at the line of scrimmage for a run blitz. Now we're coming on a pass blitz. And guess what? We're going up against a guy that can't pass protect very well in Ronald Jones. Mm-hmm. And so you can have a good running back, but if he can't pass protect, coaches don't trust him, and they have to see probably a little bit more from Sean Tucker in that area to really cause him to get some more opportunities, some more snaps, because in any given moment, a defensive coordinator can force a check to a pass, and now is that running back that was going to get the carry, is he going to be a liability in pass protection?
No, that's a great point. Pass blocking. We kind of saw this with Jahmyr Gibbs of the Lions. People were like, why isn't he on the field more? And then someone showed a replay of him just getting completely run over on pass blocking. That makes a big difference. To make sure that you get on the field is you have to be able to pass block. But we got another super chat from LDBC's Most Wanted. We have one from Salty Buccaneer that we'll get to as well. But LDBC's Most Wanted says, Saludos, PR. Where do you rank our 2020 draft class? Well, thank you for the super chat. The 2020 draft class has a fantastic start. No question about it. With
Tristan Wirfs
in the first round, Antoine Winfield Jr. in the second round. I mean, those are both A pluses. I don't think there's really any discussion after that. However, after those two, Keyshawn Vaughn, we've spoken a lot about him, probably more than we expected to this season, going MIA the other day at practice. Tyler Johnson is no longer with the team. Khalil Davis no longer with the team.
Right.
And Russell.
It doesn't matter. After the first two, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't, because Tristan Wirfs, if he stays healthy, he is on a Hall of Fame trajectory.
Yep.
He just is. He could go down as being the best offensive player in team history. And that's saying something, because Mike Evans has got that distinction right now. So Tristan Wirfs, he could go down as the best offensive player in Bucs history. He's going to get a contract extension. Antoine Winfield was maybe the best defensive player not named Devin White on the field yesterday.
Yeah.
He's going to get a contract extension. That's it. That's a home run, 1-2 punch right there. That's all you need. You need two starters, if not studs, from a draft class to have it be successful. Go back to 1995, right? It's as good as it gets with Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks in the first round. Right there, the Buccaneers traded up from the second into the first round towards the end to get Derek Brooks. Who are the other draft picks from 1995? Who knows? Who cares? I'll read them off to you. Melvin Johnson, safety out of Kentucky in the second round. Average player, played 4 years in the league. Didn't really do much. Jerry Wilson, cornerback out of Southern in the fourth round. Clifton Abraham, defensive back out of Florida State in the fifth round. Wardell Rouse, linebacker out of Clemson in the sixth round. Steve Ingram, tackle out of Maryland in the seventh round, and Jeff Rogers out of Texas A&M Kingsville, a defensive end in the seventh round. Who cares? Rounds 2 through 7. Doesn't matter. You drafted 2 Hall of Famers in the first round in Sapp and Brooks. Jason Light has that kind of caliber draft. We'll see how it pans out. But two really, really good players off to a really good start in Wirfs and Winfield with the first two picks in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, Winfield was exceptional. I am so pumped to see what he's going to do for the rest of the season because he came out shooting out of a cannon, like on a rocket ship to another Pro Bowl, if not already an All-Pro with the strip sack to start out the game. This super chat from Salty Buccaneer. Thank you for the $4.99 super chat. I saw your tweet, by the way, as well. I have been telling y'all on X for a while now. Sorry, X now. Have faith. Bowles got dealt a bad hand last year. Let him finally coach his team with his coaches.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's important.
It's a really good point. You know, he got to pick Dave Canales, and so far, 1 for 1.
Yeah, for real. And it's different when you're trying to play one style of football and your offensive coordinator is trying to play another style of football. And they don't mesh and they don't play complementary football. The Buccaneers looked disjointed last year. Big reason why they were 8-9, right? And in this year, who knows how they're going to end up? As Todd Bowles said, the only thing this guarantees us is we're not going to be 0-17, right? So 1-0. Remember, they started off 1-0 last year. Matt, they started off 2-0 last year with 2 impressive road wins at Dallas, at New Orleans.
Yes.
And after that, it was a real struggle all the way through. So we don't want to get too overreacting to this win here because it may mean something. It may not in the grand scheme of things. All it means is they're not going to be 0-17. And Bowles is right about that. I do like their chances, though, to beat the Bears come Sunday, though, at home.
I think they're absolutely going to whoop the Bears. I mean, we'll talk about it more on Wednesday and Thursday's show. But if you want to make some picks on that game, best place to do it is with Underdog Fantasy and their pick'ems. You just make the higher or lower pick on at least 2 players. It's got to be one from each team, so you can't just pick the Bucs as this video is explaining it. Do you think Baker Mayfield will go higher or lower? Do you think Mike Evans will go higher or lower with his receiving yards? There's a number of different picks that you can make. There's also insurance. That's key as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you make 3 picks and all 3 hit, you're going to win a lot more money. But say, for example, with my Pewter picks, I hit 2 out of 3. Now, if you do the insurance, you still walk away with a payday. It's not as big as winning 3 times, but you still get money, where if you roll the dice with just picking 3 and it doesn't hit, then you don't win. But Underdog Fantasy, you have so many great options with the pick'ems. You could do it for quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, whatever you want. The Rivals is great too. I'm a huge fan of the Rivals. That's just, hey, I think this guy is going to have more yards than his opponent on the other team. For example, Mike Evans and Justin Jefferson, if you want to do that last week. Or I think Baker Mayfield's going to have more passing yards than Justin Fields this week. So Underdog Fantasy, use that promo code Pewter. That's PEWTER. Get a deposit bonus. If you're new into prop bets and picks and things like that, Underdog Fantasy is a great place to start with the higher and lowers, over-unders and everything like that. So check out Underdog Fantasy. They have a lot of great in-season tournaments as well. So always stay tuned to Underdog Fantasy with what they have going on. Use that promo code Pewter. I also got a show that's coming out every Friday, Pewter
Great
Picks
show.
and Props. I had so much fun doing it last week. My picks were 5-2, so I'll make some picks for the Bucs games with player props. I hit the Mike Evans over on receiving yards. Unfortunately, I picked higher on the rushing yards for Rachaad White. That did not hit, but I also picked KJ Osborne, the Vikings wide receiver, higher than 2.5 receiving yards. So, catches. So 2 out of 3 hits. So that was pretty good. I make some NFL picks as well. Of course, the Bucs spread and the over/under. I'll pick that every single week. I went 2-0. I hit the under and Bucs plus 6.5. And I make some NFL picks as well. So I was 5-2. Stay tuned to all of my picks. Either ride with me, win some money, or if you think I'm going to be wrong, fade me. So either way, it's good to be watching to see what I picked. That'll be coming out on Friday.
Yeah. And the great thing about when you look at Pewter Report TV, it's not just the Pewter Report podcast we have, folks. It's not just Pewter Game Day. We appreciate all you Pewter people for tuning in to our Pewter pregame show. Pewter Game Day was fun listening to you, Matt, get excited about the game and dropping some knowledge that the announcers on TV just aren't going to have because they're not at One Buccaneer Place. They're not tuned into this team like like we at Pewter Report are. And then the Pewter Report podcast. But we also have the Pewter Pulse. We've got Matt's Pewter picks and props, and as well as a lot of video clips from press conferences, player interviews, etc. Todd Bowles had a lot of good things to say. Anything else in the hopper, Matt, that we should get to from Bowles?
Yeah, let's he talked a lot about the safeties today. I know we mentioned Antoine Winfield Jr., but everything that Christian Izien did was big time. So he talked about Izien in the first two clips and then gets to Antoine Winfield Jr.
Playing as much as he did, and then to see him make the pick he had on the goal line. Just want to ask you, when you first noticed him, obviously you know Rutgers football a little better than most NFL coaches probably. When you first noticed him and why you thought he'd be a good fit here?
I noticed him 2 years ago. When I went up to see my son, he just kept flashing. I didn't know, to the extreme of what he was until I started watching film a little bit more during his senior year. And you just kept seeing the guy. I said, God, this guy does a lot of things. He's very heady, number one. He's very quick. He's very fast, and he's very tough. And he knows the game. To be that young and still in college and know the game, I didn't know we would have a shot at him. If free agency came in, Jason were talking about it, and we tried to go out and get him. He took it with one hand. He took it with one hand. It was a heady football play on his part. The crafty move for a rookie. I give him a lot of credit.
And it certainly made a huge one yesterday. But can you just speak to how sure of a tackler he is? You play a lot of single high, and he is that free safety for you now. It looks like he had 2 touchdown-saving tackles in Jefferson on the first half. Just your confidence in him as a tackler.
Winfield did a lot of things that Winfield does. He got tackles, he got sacks, he caused fumbles, he recovered fumbles, he got PBUs. Very good tackler in space, very good cover guy in space. Like I said, him, Devin, and Levante, probably the fastest 3 guys on the field on our side of the ball. And they played like superstars, and they practiced like that, so they played like that.
We should also give Devin White a shout out for the game that he played as well. So this is Todd Bowles talking about Get Live 45.
Really good initially. When you go back and watch the tape, it might be even better in terms of being assignment sound, sniffing out screens, and just tackling with sure hands.
He played fast. He played, him and Levante, both of them played all over the field. If it wasn't one, it was the other one. They did a good job finding the hider and the bootlegs, and they did a good job cleaning up plays that the D-line set up for them. They did a good job flying around, period. Both of them had double-digit tackles. Both of them were all over the place. I thought, they really showed their leadership.
And that could be the case. We'll have Devin White spy Fields all day, meaning, of course, Justin Fields. That's a great comment from Jacko Blentley. And, folks, since you mentioned Justin Fields and the Bears, we're going to promote our Bucs versus Bears preview. That's coming out Wednesday. Remember, we're in our season mode right now. And so that means we do podcasts Mondays at 4 o'clock, Wednesdays at 4 o'clock, and Thursdays at 4 o'clock. Because Tuesday's the players' day off. There's no press conferences. And then we'll be at One Buccaneer Place, the Advent Health Training Center, on Wednesday and Thursday. We'll have podcasts there. But traditionally, our Bucs opponent preview happens on our Wednesday podcast. So look for the Bucs versus Bears preview on Wednesday. And we'll get into all of the nitty-gritty details about that. It's funny, when you look at Antoine Winfield and the praise that Todd Bowles was bestowing upon him as somebody who can just kind of do it all, right? Where he can make the big splash plays, make the tackles, play coverage, et cetera. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Eric Gross from the Eric Gross Group. Why? Because he can buy your house. He can help you sell your house. There's just so many things. He can help you find the right neighborhood, because getting a house is one thing, but it's not really a house if it's just, in a neighborhood you don't want to be in, or a community that you're not really familiar with. Eric wants to help you find a home. That's where you want to plant some roots and make sure you're in the right community. Maybe it's got the right school for your kids, etc. Trust Eric Gross with that decision, with the Eric Gross Group. It takes a full team effort to win in football. He believes it takes a full team effort to win in real estate. So whether you're buying your house or selling it, whether you want to move in state or out of state or around the state, Eric Gross is the place where you need to turn. The Eric Gross Group, with their website, housesinfla.com. It's a great website. Make sure you check it out. Check out their inventory of houses that are for sale there. And make sure you follow the Eric Gross Group on Facebook and Instagram at Eric Gross Group, and give him a call, 513-907-4271. He's an avid Pewter Report reader. big-time Tampa Bay fan. He knows this area. He's a Tampa native. With a team of 85,000 agents in the eXp Realty Group, Eric Gross can help you on your home buying journey, whether you're buying or selling. Make sure you visit housesinfla.com.
We got some more super chats rolling in, so let's get to it. Thank you, Trustin Vorbeck, for the $4.99 super chat. Trustin asked, is it just me or did Mike Evans look annoyed this game? Even after he scored, he didn't even celebrate with anyone, just ran and sat down. And then he says in all caps, pay him. I think Mike is, he said he's focused on the season. He's ready to go. I think Mike is, I think he is focused. He's not going to be a distraction to this team, but I don't think he's thrilled that he doesn't have a contract extension.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, he wasn't pleased with himself. I think he had a shot at that deep ball and didn't come up with it in the first quarter. Whereas a one-on-one, he usually eats that situation up and eats it alive. Then he had the drop with a slant pass that got into his body, bounced off his chest. The defender fell down. It would have been a walk-in touchdown. So I don't think that Mike was as pleased with his opening performance as maybe he wanted. I think he's got very high expectations for himself. He knows he's in a contract year. He's got to make those plays.
And the last thing on Mike, at the time, that was his second target. So it's probably not like, we scored a touchdown. It was like, finally, you're supposed to get the damn ball.
Right.
This is a quick video, but Todd Bowles actually spoke about Mike Evans today.
How do you feel that Mike Evans played in yesterday's game?
I thought Mike played well. I mean, you can say he could have got the slant play that he could have ran for, but Mike played well. He commands a double team. You know, he bided his time. We started going to him more in the second half, and he cashed in for us.
And we got a super chat from Meets McGee. Thank you for the $5 super chat, who says, like the Chiefs game with Tyreek Hill, great adjustment on Jefferson. Salute to Bowles and Canales on their second half adjustments. The offense will get better as they go.
Yeah, great adjustments in the second half. As far as Mike Evans, I have nothing new to report other than he needs a really big year. He needs a really big year. I'm just going to leave it at that. So I'd love to see Mike retire in Tampa. He needs a really big year.
And he's capable of it, but you have to, and I hate knocking Mike for things, but it was a simple drop, and big-time players make that play down the field.
Yes.
The deep ball from
and he's
Baker.
Capable of that. He's capable of making that slant catch. He's capable of making that big play. Those are $25 million plays, though, that you got to make. And nobody's harder on Mike than himself. He's a perfectionist, and not knocking Mike. I'm just stating kind of the obvious here that he's got to make those plays. Even Todd Bowles said, he probably should have had the slant, but still, nonetheless, he did his part, helped this team with some clutch catches, including that touchdown, first touchdown of the season for Tampa Bay. And that was a big one because they only won by 3 points. Folks, when it comes to, to winning, there's a group called Immuni Financial here in the Tampa Bay area that wants to help you win when it comes to your retirement and your investments. And do what I do. Trust Immuni with your financial resources and your investments, and they'll come through for you in the clutch.
At Immuni Financial, we help you live in the now.
Dude,
Congratulations. We're so happy for you.
Thank you.
And even though the now may feel very different, you still need to plan for the future.
How's retirement treating you?
Oh, just fantastic.
I know I say it all the time, but you really got to come up to Colorado.
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah.
We can help you develop that plan to keep you on track so you can still prepare for tomorrow, today. Immuni Financial. Plan ahead, stay ahead.
Immuni Financial. Managing your family's wealth means more to Immuni Financial than simply allocating your assets. It means legacy planning, brokerage and advisory services, retirement accounts, college savings accounts for the kids, and insurance services. With 40 years of experience, let Immuni Financial help you plan ahead and stay ahead. They can help not just folks in the Tampa Bay area, not just Pewter people across the state of Florida, but like you guys all across the country watching the Pewter Report podcast. Immuni Financial can service you. So do what I did. Make yourself a client of Immuni Financial. Visit them on the web at immuni.com or give them a call at 1-800-868-6864. Even if you're working with a current financial advisor or a financial company, it always doesn't hurt to get a second opinion, especially when your retirement is at stake. So let Immuni Financial take a look at your assets, see if they can make some suggestions, and see if Immuni Financial is right for you. when it comes to your finances. Immunity Financial, visit them on the web at immunity.com.
I love that the super chats are continuing to roll in from Nick Bowen. Thank you for the $1.99 super chat. Hear anything about Raymond James Stadium lease ending in 2028? Relocate? Question mark.
That's a long ways off, man.
I haven't heard a thing.
Yeah.
I'm not even really thinking.
What are we?
about
2023? Yeah, I mean that's a long time. A lot of football to be played between now and then. We'll see what happens. But Gary Buff says I want to go to Colorado. Colorado's great. I can't wait to get back to Colorado. I'm actually going to Yellowstone, Montana.
Let's go.
Bozeman, Montana during spring break. So a little big sky country. Folks, listen, we asked you all last night on the Pewter Report podcast to help us out, to let other Buck fans know about the Pewter Report podcast and especially Pewter Report TV. That is where this channel the podcast is housed. That's where you can see Matt Matera's Pewter Picks and Props, my Pewter Pulse videos, plus all the great video clips that Matt and our staff put up on Pewter Report TV. That's our YouTube channel. And you guys came through like aces. We grew by 80 new subscribers last night, 80 just in one podcast. So I'm going to ask you to do it again. We're so close to 12,000 subscribers on our Pewter Report TV channel, our YouTube channel. Help us out again. Do it again. Let more people know. Let your Bucs fans, friends, and family members know about Pewter Report TV. Have them click on the subscribe button. It doesn't cost a single thing. It's free. You just have them click subscribe on our YouTube channel. It helps us out, helps us grow. And if you haven't done so yet, go to your YouTube channel and go on notifications and click on that. And that way, whenever we go live with an emergency podcast or a regularly scheduled podcast, or if we do the Pewter Report podcast after games, we always kind of adjust that, Matt, as it pertains to when the press conferences end. That's when we go live. You'll get a notification. You can tune in and not miss a minute of the Pewter Report podcast.
Yeah, please follow us on all our social media, X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, everything else in between. Pewter Report TV, we always got the content coming out. And just a reminder, on Wednesday's show, we are previewing the next game for the Bucs. It is a Bucs versus Bears preview. There have always been crazy games when the Bucs and Bears get together. Yeah. So we'll see what happens next when these teams match up. So we will talk about it on Wednesday's show. Very excited for that. Until then, that's going to do it for us. So for Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks everybody for watching. We will see you on Wednesday for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Thanks to all of our police and firemen out there.
Amen to that, brother.